I've not opened this deck list yet, so I'm excited about this.
Literally a couple days ago, before we started this recording, I got quoted as, John, this is the most unhinged piece of crap you've ever made. And I'm so excited to tell you about this next deck of mine called Party Crashers.
What's up, you sewer freaks? We are back with some more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles here on the MTG Thoughtcast. Thanks so much for clicking the video. Thanks for checking us out. My name is Joseph. I'm one of your hosts here. And across the screen, or somewhere across your ears, is my brother. He's, despite how he looks, he's not a mutant. He is human Ninja Turtle. John Kendall, across the screen or across your ears.
The real mutagen man is the friends we make along the way.
Absolutely. It's the Chernobyl, right? That's how we mutated. Is that what the turtles similar to how Godzilla was like the like Fat Man? That's what happened. I think the turtles come from Chernobyl.
Wait, what the heck are you talking about?
the viewers will understand. They'll get it. John doesn't get my references, guys. It's fine. Today, we've got 6 decks to talk about. John and I have each brewed up some of our favorite and most unique legends from the TMNT set or the Turtle Time Precon. And I'm really stoked. I have the most hear me out pick that I've ever picked before, and I cannot wait to get into it. John, do you have some exciting ones as well today?
I'm in the exact same boat as you. I'm going to save mine for later, but I have the most, you gotta follow me on this train of thought. I'm so stoked to tell you about all these. But genuinely, a lot of these other ones are very exciting as well. Like, there seems to start receiving here some mixed reaction about some of these weird and cool, interesting deck ideas that come here from the set, and that's what this episode here is about. If you have not watched one of these episodes with us before, we take legendary creatures and we build something spicy and unique to kind of like get your brains churning on how you could build these types of decks.
Yes, we have some very unique decks, and I also have a CEDH deck to talk about. So there's, I have to be a little bit sweaty, okay? I have to be a little sweaty. Well, you mentioned you need to follow along some of these ideas, and I think it's a great time to mention that you should be following along the channel as well. If you want to support us, you can like, comment, and subscribe down below to make sure that we show up in your feed more often. We have a Discord link where John and I hang out all the time. It's the easiest way to get in touch with us. You can brew some decks while we're there. If you're building your own TMNT deck, we'd love to jump in and help you out. Build that deck. Jump in our Discord, linked down below. While you're down there, you might notice that there is an affiliate code for a sponsor of the show and friends of the show, Heavy Play. These are our favorite gaming accessories, our favorite deck boxes, playmats, dice boxes, and curved sleeves. You can get 10% off of your entire order at heavyplay.com/MTG Thoughtcast, or go use code MTG Thoughtcast at checkout. Stumbled there a little bit, but we landed the plane. Code MTG Thoughtcast at checkout for 10% off of your entire order with Heavy Play. Genuinely, my favorite deck boxes on the planet, and all of their other products are really great as well. But the deck boxes is really what I'm in for. They're so freaking good. So yeah, you can protect all of your TMNT commander decks that we'll be talking about today with your favorite Heavy Play colored accessories. You can check them out. Like I said, link down below for all of that. John, should you just dive us straight on into the sewers here with your first deck that you would like to show off today?
One of the most interesting aspects and one of the coolest features, about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is that, it's just so out there a concept of idea. They're these mutated turtle creatures raised up in the ways of ancient ninjutsu and, stealth techniques and whatever. But the different kinds of flavors of cards that they've got throughout the course of the set shows a different approach to how each of these turtles treat their sort of acts of heroism, you know what I mean? And Leonardo, obviously kind of being known as the leader of the group, one of his main attributes as a person is, he always tries to act the heroic, and in most instances, he gets to be this big grand hero, to the point that the first commander I'm going to be talking about to you today even gains him a new subtype. This is Leonardo, Sewer Samurai, one of the first cards they actually showed for the set, by the way. Legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle Samurai. How about that of a type?
How do they fit so many types on there?
Equipment creature, jellyfish, octopus. But anyways, Leonardo is 3 and a white for a casting cost normally is a 3/3. He also has the keyword ability Sneak for 2 and double white. If a card's cost for Sneak is paid, you can cast them through this by returning an unblocked attacking creature during the declare blocker step. And if you cast a creature spell this way, like Leonardo, he comes in tapped and attacking the player that you were swinging at, So we see Sneak throughout the course of the main set, both on creatures and spells, which is very sick as well. Just being able to have something sometimes cheaper, sometimes costing different. So in the case with Leonardo, his Sneak and his casting cost are the same. And just your benefit here is that if you can sneak him in, he's already just going in tapped and attacking as if he had haste, which is very sick because the rest of the card goes double strike firstly as well. So since you're now already past the declare blocks, sneaking in Leonardo means he's going to connect for a minimum of 6 because of the double strike connecting off of the first and then the regular combat as a 3/3. And then during your turn, you can cast creature spells with power or toughness 1 or less from your graveyard. If you cast a spell this way, the creature enters with a finality counter on it. So cheap comes down into play with fast combat because of the Sneak, is able to recur your smaller creatures back into play, and man, does he hold equipment super well. So that's kind of the focus of what this deck is I made here. We're starting with some early combat creatures to be able to sneak him in, equipment strategy to be able to boost up that power and toughness that he has with the natural double strike means that they connect twice as hard, and then just being able to get some of our other samurai support creatures, because a bulk of my other creatures we've gotten here is samurai. So instead of leaning in more towards the fact of him being a ninja, we've went with, I guess not necessarily samurai kindred, but a lot of the good pieces that work with his abilities are samurais.
Samurai are such good support creatures for Voltron strategies because so many of them care about a creature attacking alone.
Yes, yeah, that was actually a large portion of some of the ones I wanted to go with here. I went with this kind of deck idea of Leonardo's going in one-on-one combat against some of our opposing opponents, right? Great case example of this here is Imperial Subduer. 2 and a white for a 3/2 human samurai that when a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, tap target creature you don't control. It's
awesome.
Easy access to make sure that Leonardo is connecting against our opponents. Iron Soul Enforcer, 4 and a white for a 4/4 human samurai. It's an artifact creature as well. When it or a commander you control attacks alone, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So as if our equipment that we're going to be talking about a little bit later, if those end up going to the graveyard, Leonardo attacks by himself because he's our commander. He gets to recur one of those right back into the battlefield, which is excellent for us.
It's awesome.
Selfless Samurai for kind of the same reason. 1 and a white 2/2. When a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, it gains lifelink until end of turn. And then Selfless Samurai himself can sacrifice, and another target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn.
So excellent. That does everything you want it to do, and it's a fox.
Yeah, so these friends kind of sit here and give us benefits as Leonardo goes into one-on-one combat against our opponent. Some very cool includes I've gotten here to try to capitalize on the Sneak are some of these lower cost white creatures that we can get down prior to turn 4 that go into combat and have good evasion so that we can pick them back up as part of Sneak cost, like Mist Meadow Skulk. 1 and a white for a 1/1 Kithkin Rogue that has lifelink and protection from mana value 3 or greater. So easy to sneak.
That's awesome.
Yeah, easy to sneak right through underneath larger threats that are in our way. Other cool stuff like Araba Moth Rider, 1 and a white for a 1/1 human samurai with flying and Bushido 1. flying on a samurai like this is going to be excellent to be able to have a creature go in past the declare blocks going unblocked. And now Leonardo just jumps down right in front as well. And like, haha, you thought you were taking one in the air? No, sir. How about 3
Just kidding.
double strike?
The best thing, too, is if those die, Leonardo, you can recast them from the graveyard.
Yes, correct.
So you're
things
just
like,
so benefited.
yeah, things like the Moth Rider, the Mist Meadow Skulk. I've got a cool one in here. Imposter of the Sixth Pride. He's like, he does not necessarily evasion, but he has a really high power compared to his toughness as well. So most people are more willing to let that 3 power go through pretty early into the game. But the most joy out of building all of this here is because I said we're doing this as an equipment theme because we want to boost Leonardo's power really high. That's a really quick and efficient way to end somebody's commander game is going through on double strike commander damage. Definitely one of the best is Hero's Blade, just simply because it auto jumps to Leonardo as he comes into play.
Yeah.
2 mana equipment. It normally equips for 4, gives the equipped creature +3/+2, but it auto attaches to a legendary creature when a legend enters under your control.
Mm-hmm.
Is excellent here. Lots of your other staple like equipment pieces, but also I just wanted to throw in these just like real fun and interesting Kamigawa themed ones as well, just because they're on brand with the samurai theme that we're trying to do here. There was actually, this is a really cool one here. The Oathkeeper Taneko's Daisho's. It's a 3 mana legendary equipment. It gives the equipped creature +3/+1. Whenever the equipped creature is put into a graveyard from play, return it to the play under your control if it's a samurai. But if Oathkeeper is put into the graveyard from play, you exile the equipped creature. So,
oh, neat.
It's a
so
risk.
as long as, if I'm understanding this correctly, as long as it's equipped, if your commander dies, it comes back to play. And as long as it's equipped, if the Daisho dies, your commander gets exiled.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Oh, that's so sick.
So your opponent's removal would have to point towards Oathkeeper instead of Leonardo because Leonardo would jump back into play. Not auto-equipped by the Oathkeeper, granted, but like they basically need to eat him with like 2 removal because he is a samurai.
So good. Yeah, it's awesome.
Check out this cool one. Tatsumasa, the Dragon's Fang. 6 mana for a legendary artifact equipment, gives the equipped creature +5/+5, equips for 3, but a 6 mana activated ability of exile it and put a 5/5 blue dragon spirit creature token with flying into play, and return Tatsumasa to play under its owner's control when the token is put into a graveyard.
So you just shoot this thing away, it basically turns into a dragon, and then if the dragon dies, it comes back?
Correct. Yep. So
dude,
like,
it's so sick.
It's a cool equipment that gives you those both ends of it. Is like if you've got your creatures ready to go for the equipment, this can attach to that creature and gives it +5/+5. But then if you happen to say get Wrathed, this is an equipment that gives you a body.
Yeah. Dude, that's incredible.
Excellent. Other just staples in here, you know, like Commander's Plate, O Naginata, things of that nature. Swiftfoot Boots, Sword of the Animist, Sword of Vengeance, all this traditional standard equipment-y stuff. You all guys know how mono white equipment works. It's like, it's not really playing much different than that, but just sort of with a flavor of samurai.
Very, very flavorful.
Yeah. My last bit to kind of talk about with this deck here is just some standout honorables as far as other samurais who are included in the deck, so that should Leonardo stop being an option, we've got some other great choices to throw some equipment onto. Konda, Lord of Iganjo, is a very sick one as well. 5 and double white, 3/3 legendary human samurai. He has Vigilance, Bushido 5, and Konda is indestructible.
Sick. Bushido, for those who don't know, is whenever they become blocked or block, get plus whatever the number is. So in this case, it's +5/+5.
If anybody has been playing against the new Doran Besieged by Time, it's kind of like that, where it's like if the thing blocks a creature or yours like becomes blocked or whatever, you know, it gets a boost in some capacity. And we've got Bushido stretching the whole stretch of things. Actually, in fact, another one of our samurais can grant Bushido with a Sensei Golden Tail. 1 and a white for a 2/1 legendary Fox Samurai. It has Bushido 1, and then an activated ability of 1 and a white tap. Put a training counter on target creature. That creature gains Bushido 1 and becomes a samurai in addition to its other types. Play this ability only as a sorcery.
Oh, nice. That stacks, too.
It does stack.
You could keep putting counters on. That's awesome.
Yep. The Wandering Rescuer is also just like, as far as like modern time samurai is concerned, this one's real sick. 3 and double white, 3/4, legendary human samurai noble. Flash, Convoke, Double Strike, and other tapped creatures you control have hexproof.
Yes, dude. She's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's the deck. That's super cool. We're taking
I love it.
We take our Ninja Turtle friend and we've made a Samurai Kindred sort of out of it with a flavoring of very sick and interesting swords and equipment and combat evasion, and it just is lots of fun. I like it a lot. And Mono White gets a really bad rep as far as Commander is concerned. It's so underpowered. There's nothing strong and stupid you can do. But then it's like, Mono White's has got some of today's magic of like some of the strongest cards in the game. Everybody knows the power level of Esper Sentinel, other fantastic pieces like Land Tax and Smothering Tithe and all these other great cards that fit in here. And obviously, as well, being in a mono color helps be able to like not be as concerned with how much lands you've got down in play. All you got to do is or rather, I guess I should say, like not concerned with needing to fix your colors. You're just in this mono color. Your goal is to get some cheap creatures down, sneak Leonardo in, get these equipment attached onto him as fast as possible, win the game through just sheer single combat obliteration.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, what a cool deck. I actually just built a mono white commander deck, and I've been having a ton of fun with it. So this is very inspiring to me, just seeing the pile of equipment that you picked, because that's kind of the personal flavor with an equipment deck is like, how do you want to play it? Do you want to beefcake your commander up? Do you want to do a bunch of utility stuff? So this is cool to see what you would pick for a mono white equipment deck. That's awesome. I don't know if we mentioned at the top of the show or not, but all of our entire deck lists can be found down below as well. So if you check this one out, and then the next ones that we're talking about, those are down there as well. Which, speaking of, I'll take us on to my first pick for tonight. And I just need you to strap in, okay? This is, normally you're the Charlie Day meme. Today it's me. Today I'm pointing around.
Oh, we're going to get to mine. Don't you worry.
Oh, yeah, dude. So I want to talk about Mondo Gecko. This is a mythic from the main set. It is 1 blue and a blue for a 2/3 lizard mutant. So it's a mono blue commander. Keep that in mind. It has an ability. Pay a mana, discard a card. Until end of turn, Mondo Gecko becomes the color of your choice and gains hexproof from that color. And then whenever he deals combat damage to a player, draw a card for each color among permanents you control. So, like, this is Scroll Thief already, which is, I love cards like that, which is just when it deals damage, you draw a card. That alone, because it's blue, you will obviously have a blue permanent if it hits. Mm-hmm. What's cool about this is you can change his color before you deal combat damage, and now you have more colors available to you in your mono blue deck. So I've taken that to the nth degree, and this kind of becomes a mini game of how quickly can we get 5 different colors of permanents down in a mono blue deck. So this is 5 color mono blue color hacks with Mondo Gecko. So the first and easiest way to get differently colored permanents is off-color tokens. So there's a ton of blue cards that make different colored tokens. Black is actually the hardest of them, which is shocking, but it is the most difficult. The easiest ones that I've found is something like Geralf the Fleshwright. So this is a great example. Geralf the Fleshwright is 3 mana for a 2/3. Whenever you cast a spell during your turn other than your first spell that turn, you make a 2/2 blue and black zombie rogue creature token, and then whenever a zombie enters the battlefield under your control, you put a counter on it for each other zombie that entered under your control this turn. It storms, which is great because the goal here is we're going to be playing a bunch of cards because since he makes a blue and black zombie, this is a perfect time to talk about the other half of the deck, which is color hacking. So we're going to be using things like Glamour Die. There's a whole section of this deck that is just changing color text on spells and permanents. So Glamour Die is, I think, the best of them because it has retrace. It's a 2 mana instant. It's 1 and a blue for an instant. Change the text of target spell or permanent by replacing all instances of one color word with another. So what you can do here is you can Glamour Die Geralf, and you can say all instances of the word blue are now red. So now he makes Rakdos zombies as he
that
plays
doesn't
them.
end, does it?
No, it does not end. And you can retrace it, so you can the next time you can be like, I actually need a green and white zombie now, so I'm going to retrace this twice. I'm going to say that Geralt makes a green and white zombie this time, and now you've all of a sudden got all 5 of your colors for Mondo Gecko. When he hits somebody, is now going to draw you 5 cards. So that is, which is great, because then you draw all those cards. You have your hand is full to discard to give Mondo Gecko hexproof. It's a very silly deck, but I do think it's good because your commander inherently is a card advantage engine that has protection stapled to it. So that's a traditionally very good thing to play in the command zone. There are some other ways. I have, if you look at the deck list, I have tagged sort of the different colors. Green is pretty easy. There's fun ones like Staff of Titania, which is when a equipped creature attacks, you make a Dryad Arbor, which is green. So now you have a green permanent. It also gives you +X/+X, where X is the number of force you control. So again, this is, you want to be attacking with your commander so that it hits and draws you cards. There's obviously a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth in the deck as well, because we're off color. So it can make everything into forests, and now, it gets huge. There's a handful of other ones as well. Let me talk about, okay, so we've gone through black, we've gone through green. Let's talk, red is also pretty easy, because you have like Storm Chaser's talent, which makes a blue and red otter when it enters. So now you have a red permanent, and once again, this works incredibly well with the color hacking, because you can change the blue out for whatever color you need next, by changing that color word text on that to then become like, all instances of blue now say black on them, or all say green on them. So now you're making green, and you're making Gruul otters with this thing.
Yuck.
Particularly good as well, because it changes all of an instance of color words on it. So this one, when it enters, it makes the blue and red otter, and then on level 3, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it also makes a blue-red otter. Glamour Die, or the other ones like Volrath Swim, things like that, will change all of the instances of blue. So now every time you cast an instant or sorcery, you're making a Gruul otter, or you're making a Dimir otter, or something like that. Whatever you need in those moments, you could just make them. So it's just really sick. White also particularly easy. Inquisitive Puppet was my favorite find, because it's a single mana artifact. It's a creature. It's an 0/2. When it enters, you scry one, and you can just exile it to make a 1/1 white human. So this is like 1 mana 1/1 ETB scry one is essentially what it is, and it makes you a white card. There's a handful of things that just make a bunch of them. Dude, I found Mascot Exhibition in this deck. It's a 7 mana lesson from Strixhaven that makes a 2/1 white and black Inkling, a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token, and a 4/4 blue and red elemental. That's everything but green all in one card. So then you just Mondo Gecko, change himself to green, and you've got all 5 colors in one hit. Really, really sick one there. Scrap Basket's another one. This is a ridiculous card. 4 mana for a 3/2 Scarecrow that just has an ability. Single mana, Scrap Basket becomes all colors until end of turn.
Sure.
This is it. 1 mana, you hit with your commander, you draw 5 cards. Like, what we're talking about here is drawing 5 cards at a time. Like, this is particularly strong that you're going to be refilling your hand just for hitting somebody. As we're doing this, we obviously need to win the game, and I think the most flavorful and interesting way to win the game here is with Painter's Servant. So I really like Painter's Servant combo. Painter's Servant is 2 mana for a 1/3 that as it enters, you choose a color, and then all spells that aren't on the battlefield, spells and permanents are the chosen color in addition to their other colors. So this is really good in the deck to begin with because of Mondo's activated ability, that you can just say like, okay, Painter's Servant, I'm going to name green with this, or I'm going to name white or black are probably the better ones to name. So now every spell that gets cast is that color in addition to its other types. So you can always just say Mondo Gecko is white and has hexproof from white, and then whatever they're casting is going to not be able to target Mondo. So that alone is good. And then with him, you get a combo with Grindstone, which is a single mana artifact. You pay 3, you tap it. Target player mills 2 cards. If 2 cards that share a color were milled this way, repeat this process. So with Painter's Servant naming white and Grindstone, you activate it targeting somebody. Every card that they mill is going to be white, so it mills out the entire library in one activation. Similarly is like Sphinx's Tutelage. It's a worse version of it, but it is good. Sphinx's Tutelage is good in here though because it triggers every time you draw a card, which Mondo is going to do 5 times whenever you attack. So this is how we're winning with this deck is we're color hacking, we're playing, we're doing some combos. The last thing to mention is there is some really cool benefit to doing the color hacking thing, like having Painter Servant or using your Glamour dies and things to target your opponent's stuff. Like you have Lawin Cephalid Empress is 3 and a blue for a 2/3. It's probably a jellyfish legend now, right? It's a cephalid.
Squid now. Yep.
Squid legend. When she enters, you return all blue creatures your opponents control to their owner's hand, and your opponents can't play blue creature spells. So with like Painter's Servant down, or you can change the color word on Lawin using things like Glamour Die and Volraz Will. So like you get to somebody else's turn, they're playing a mono green deck, you just like Glamour Die and all of a sudden you can't play green spells this turn. You can't, or green creature spells. You get to the mono white player, I'm going to choose white as my color for Lawin. You're refilling your hand to retrace the Glamour Die and you're just staxing people out of the game until you can Painter Servant them in your 5-color mono blue deck. It's awesome.
No, I love this. You've ticked a lot of like the same similar boxes like we talked about during last season release with Tam, Mindful First Year. This is kind of ticking the same sort of boxes, whereas the direction that I took that deck was more about getting the permanents you already have turned into 5-color and like land domain and things or whatever. Your construction here is all about taking the text boxes that are already on cards and modifying their colors to whatever suits your need for that particular like spell instance, and your mill cards and getting the 5-color tokens down in play. This is that's super sick.
Yeah, it's real bizarre, but I think it could be very fun. I've just tried playtesting it, and it's almost impossible to because it's just a tracking nightmare. Because you just have to remember, like, okay, I played my news helicopter, and then on the stack, I chose that instead of green, it's going to say red. So now I'm making a red and white citizen token as the news helicopter enters. There's no tokens that can accurately depict what you're doing here. Get your Infinitokens ready for this deck.
Next up on our deck rotations, Joseph, if I were to tell you what one of the most iconic things about Ninja Turtles is, what would your immediate guess go to?
I would want to say like beautifully crafted swords or equipment or, the sewers, but I know it's pizza.
It's pizza time, baby.
It's pizza time.
I don't know why people are so upset about so much pizza being part of this set right here. Because, come on. They've almost got nothing else interesting about themselves other than the fact that it's like, oh, they're mutant ninjas. They're so cool and fascinating. But nah, man, they're here for a good slice. And
they're just some bros eating a slice.
Exactly. We got to embrace that. Embrace the fact, I think everybody at a casual level is a pizza enjoyer to some capacity. If you're, your veggies, your meats, your cheeses, whatever. God, the cheese. I'm a cheese pizza.
You're a quattro formaggio guy.
Yeah, anybody who's ever met me, or most all of you who know me from here from the show, come on. I mean, just look at me. Do I not look like a pizza enjoyer to you? So, of course, to that end, when this set brought a fantastic face into the Commander scene, Pizza Face, the Gastromancer, we had to. This is our food deck. So, Pizza Face is 3 black and a green legendary artifact creature food mutant. It's a 2/4. When Pizza Face enters, you make a food token, as you would expect. He's a food boy. Mm-hmm. An ability from the main set called Disappear as well. This set, this mechanic is actually also very quite cool. At the
really
beginning
good.
At your end step, if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, you put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 other target artifact or creature. And if it isn't a creature, it becomes a 0/0 mutant creature in addition to its other types. So just before we get to the rest of it there, just that aspect in and of itself, every end step, if you have something leave your battlefield, a fetch land, a food token, a creature, whatever, tracks at your end step, if something left, 3/1/1 counters on either onto already an existing creature or an artifact, and if that artifact is not already a creature, Pizza Face turns it into a 0/0 with the counters on it naturally. So can generate you bodies out of nowhere, can make the bodies you already have bigger. That's just like that's very neat in and of itself right there. And then his last activated ability of 10 mana, tap and sack, you gain 15 life.
So he's just 5 food stapled together in a trench coat?
Every, like, all the little slices all jumbled together. So
that's crazy.
So what I have assembled here is just kind of at its core, it is a food card, food token themed related deck, but we've also going to be taking advantage of his sacrifice trigger he's got there with a little bit of those Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose and Friends types of cards, you know, like, I guess out the gate before anything else, Blood Bond combo is in here. Like this is at its core, it's a Blood Bond deck, right? These two cards, for those unfamiliar with what this combo is, Sanguine Bond for 3 and double black is an enchantment that when you gain life, a target opponent loses that much life. And then Exquisite Blood is 4 and a black for an enchantment that when an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So at its core, this is what we're trying to do here. These 2 cards, plus all the other friends that live in the wheelhouse of this combo, right? Like I talked about Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. There's also Defiant Bloodlord. That is the Sanguine Bond half of this. Exquisite Blood is harder to do because it's just Exquisite Blood and Bloodthirsty Conqueror are the only ones that kind of are the combos in and of itself. But between all of these selections of cards, you've got upwards of like 5 to 6 different cards that can make a few different 2-card pieces come together to make the combo work. So we're looking for those. And then other stuff that we're playing throughout the course of the deck is just more little instances of either like being aristocracy style as our tokens or our creatures die, or benefits to us as we gain life. And that mostly is coming through with the food tokens, that not only does Pizza Face himself create you one, other cards in here that create us food tokens and how we can utilize them to their maximum potential. So just like an easy one, like Tireless Provisioner. 2 and a green for an elf scout with landfall that it makes either a food or a treasure token, which obviously the treasure token is good to like ramp you up to some of these things in the early game. But then as you start playing your excess lands, that can start becoming food tokens for you that you can start capitalizing on the life gain aspect.
Totally. Treasures, notably, are very easy to trigger disappear because it's a permanent that you sacrifice for free and make mana. For less than free, you're paid to sacrifice treasures.
Yeah, that's correct. Cards like Pizza Face who say that they have disappear on them, it doesn't matter if they were already in play or not as you had permanents leave the field. Like, say, for example, if you use treasures to cast Pizza Face, he will, at your end step, still see that you had a permanent leave your battlefield that turn, which is very sick. Other great food cards we've got in here, Hazel's Brewmaster. 3 and a black for a 3/4 squirrel warlock with menace. When it enters or attacks, you exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and make a food token. And foods you control have all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with Hazel's Brewmaster.
That includes your commander. Your commander is a food and will gain all activated abilities that you exile with Hazel's Brewmaster.
That is technically true as well.
That's awesome.
That's a sick way to look at it as well. But like, say, just a cheapo one, like say, oh, your food tokens and like Hazel's Brewmaster, you eat something like a Birds of Paradise. Now all of your foods have the ability to tap to make mana of any color, which is very cool.
Yes, dude.
Killer Service is another fantastic one. 2 and a green for an enchantment that when it enters the battlefield, you make a number of food tokens equal to the number of opponents you have. And at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 2 and sacrifice a token. And if you do, you make a 4/4 green Rhino Warrior.
Dude, that's awesome.
Excellent. Yeah, just if you've got extra food kicking around, or it just says you can eat any token, we've got a variety of other cards that make other tokens in here, right? Like I was talking about the aristocraty kind of stuff. We've got Marionette Apprentice in here. So like if you choose to make the servo with her instead, you pay 2 mana, eat the servo token that then also triggers the Marionette Apprentice. Then that upgrades itself into a 4/4 that you then also still got your foods kicking around to start gaining life off of, right?
So good.
Some excellent stuff. Another combo we have floating around in here, other than the Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond combo, is a combination of cards that create you infinite amount of foods and tokens. The first part of that is Peregrine Took. 2 and a green for a 2/3 legendary halfling citizen. If 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional food is created instead, and an activated ability of sacrificing 3 foods to draw a card, which just that by itself is already very good. So like if you account for nothing else as part of this combo, you just every time you would make a food, you make 2 foods, which is great. The other half of this is Experimental Confectioner. 2 and a black for a 2/3 human peasant that when it enters, you make a food, and whenever you sacrifice a food, you create a 1/1 black rat creature token with the creature can't block. What we end up with here is that as you eat a food token, you create a rat. If Peregrine Took is part of that as well, the rat and a food are created. Now you're back to where you were. The just basically the last piece you need into this is like you could use any kind of like sacrifice thing. The one that makes us go into a loop is Ashnod's Altar, which again,
Classic.
surprise, we found another Ashnod's Altar combo. Go figure, gang. But
it's just a card that you can't play fair. It just accidentally goes infinite with everything.
Yeah, so what the loop here would be is the rat goes into the altar mana goes into the food is then eaten, that triggers the confectioner to make you a new rat, and Took makes that rat plus a food. And so then just from there, you find any other piece that you want to be able to make that work, right? Like if you're already sitting on Sanguine Bond, that kills everybody all in one go. If you're sitting on Mirkwood Bats or Marionette Apprentice or anything else that cares about your cards going into the graveyard, you gaining life, creating tokens in any capacity, right? This ends up making you like, say, infinite if it comes down to like, say, Academy Manufacturer, because of course Manufacturer is in here. It's a food deck. Why wouldn't we have them here? Yeah, and it's really sick. The one of the last little bits that I found is just like really cool lines of play to do with Pizza Face is because, again, if we're sitting on these kinds of cards, because there are more instances of Sanguine Bond than there are Exquisite Blood, if we've got one of those but not the Exquisite Blood ones, if we've got the mana to start making it work with Pizza Face, there are a variety of cards we have in here like Feign Death and Not Dead After All to target onto Pizza Face as we go to activate his ability of, tap, sacrifice himself, gain you 15, target somebody because of your Sanguine Bond to lose 15 life. Oh, but wait, I hit him with Feign Death prior to activating that ability. He'll now come right back into play to be able to do that again. And like, losing 15 life in one go is like not anything to snuff at, you know?
Hefty.
It just takes like 2 of those probably like into the mid game when you'll be able to have this kind of mana to go. You know what I mean?
Really cool.
Yeah, so that's the plan here. The plan is play a variety of food synergistic payoff cards, create ourselves these engines of as we are sacrificing these food tokens or creating them, gaining the life off of them with things like Sanguine Bond and Vito and whatever, just draining everybody out nice and slow. Pizza Face all the while, by the way, like as we're churning through all this stuff, if we are sacrificing lands for fetching purposes or eating food tokens during our turn to trigger these like artifacts going to graveyard or life being gained during the turn, he's going to target to make these other creatures of yours or these other food tokens you have sitting around larger. You know, he'll just constantly create you 3 extra power on the board all the while you're setting up to get these food related combos and synergies ready to go.
Nice. Dude, that's awesome. It's a cool card. The art is very bizarre, but I'm here for some food. You know I love a food deck. Well, I believe I'll take us away with the next deck. I was debating between which two I want to talk about, and I think because it's a quick one, I'm going to talk about Krang Mastermind at this time.
You have been so hyped for this one ever since it got shown off.
And he is just as cracked as I thought he was going to be. This is, so Krang Mastermind is a rare, not even a mythic in this set, is 6 blue for a legendary artifact creature, Utrum Warrior. Utrum? Utrum.
Yes, Utrum.
Utrum. Yep. He's a 1/4, and he has the famously fair and never broken line of text, Affinity for Artifacts. So he cost 1 less for each artifact you control. So with 6 artifacts down, he cost blue for all the rest of this, which is when he enters, if you have fewer than 4 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. And Krang gets 1/0 for each other artifact you control. Brother, this is bananas. So we've got, I mean, the show is called the MTG Thoughtcast. We obviously love affinity for artifacts, and especially affinity for artifacts that draws cards. Like we're here. We're playing Thoughtcast in the deck. This is like a cracked version of Thoughtcast, because in the case where you're playing it with no cards in hand or even a few cards in hand, if you have 3 cards in hand, this is equivalent to a Thoughtcast. If you have less than that, which is where you want to be playing affinity decks anyway, he draws you 4 cards when he enters to then play more, and then also just has a cranial plating already attached to him. That 1/0 for each other artifact you control. This is a lot of really good cards stapled together that can be played for 2 blue mana. And especially from the command zone, affinity for artifacts affects commander tax as well.
Yes, it does.
So especially in Commander, you will basically never pay more than 2 mana for this to refill your hand as you go. It's also not a when he enters if you cast him. So you can blink him, you can recur him, you can cast him from the graveyard. There's a million different ways that you can make clones of him to continue doing that. Non-legendary clones, even legendary clones are fine because you play them, you draw your 4 cards, they die. You've probably paid a mana or 2 mana for these non-legendary clones of this. So it is so cracked. This is a high bracket 4 that I think could really sit at a CDH table commander, because artifacts are some of the most broken things in the commander format. All of your fast mana, all of your combo pieces, you're really, really looking to dump your hand as quickly as possible, and then Krang just refills it. So for the artifacts in the deck, this is also just an excellent deck for I forget the name of the combo, but it's Isochron Scepter and Dramatic Reversal. So like Iso Reversal, because you're using an artifact, it untaps all of your artifact mana. You make infinite mana. You can play him a bunch. You sack him. You play him. You sack him. You draw a bunch of cards. It's awesome. Another great Thoracle deck, as well as you could be playing Urza Lord High Artificer here. Get to your infinite mana as quickly as possible. Infinite. Exile all of the cards in your library. You get access to play all of them until end of turn. Thoracle, I win the game. You also just have access to all of your counter spells at that point, so no one can beat you. This is artifacts down here. What are we looking at? We've got, this is an excellent Jeweled Amulet deck. I've been singing the praises of Jeweled Amulet for a second, and I think more people need to play it in general. Jeweled Amulet is a 0 mana artifact, which is what you want to play in this deck anyway. You pay 1 and tap it to put a charge counter on Jeweled Amulet, and you note the color of mana that was paid into that. So it's a charged counter that keeps track of what color mana was played into it. It can't have more than 1 charge counter on it, but you can tap it to remove the charge counter from Jeweled Amulets, add a mana of the last type used on the to put a charge counter onto it. So like, let's say in this deck, you're obviously gonna be blue. So like, you play this on turn 1, you tap your island, you tap into this. Next turn, you've got 3 mana available. So it's like a rechargeable Mox, which I really, really like. So you got that. You've obviously got your baubles. You got Mishra's Bauble. You got Urza's Bauble. It's a great manifold key deck. The One Ring. casting goes crazy in this deck as we're untapping things. One of the notable differences from like your typical mono blue CEDH list here is Displacer Kitten, because as I mentioned, Krang is not a when he enters if it was cast. So we have a ton of really cheap or free non-creature spells that Displacer Kitten, blink Krang, play him again, you draw 4 more cards, you dump all those cards in your hand, you blink Krang, you refill it. So Krang is going to churn through your library, and then as you're putting these down, he's getting bigger. So if you have 20 artifacts in play, not difficult to do in a deck like this, he is a 21-4, and then when you hit somebody with him, they die to commander damage. So he is, to recap, he is card advantage, a win con, and only ever costs 2 mana in this deck. He's so absolutely cracked. I'm trying to think of any other. Yeah, I mean, you also get to play Thoughtcast in the deck, obviously. Thought Monitor is another great one. Everything else is just kind of your standard. Like if you look at an Urza Lord High Artificer CDH list, it kind of feels like that. As somebody who has played Urza Lord High Artificer in CDH, Krang is better. This is just Urza does not provide you any card advantage outside of paying 5 mana to do the Mind's Desire effect. So having something that you don't care if it dies because it's got affinity for artifacts. You're just going to keep recasting it to keep refilling your hand. And then you still get to play all of the Urza combos in here, like making infinite mana as quickly as possible. You've got your power artifact or whatever it is, and then your Grim Monolith, like anything that, just makes infinite colorless. All of a sudden you can churn through your entire deck with this. But man, that's Krang. I genuinely think that he is a very, very banging competitive commander.
Man, I love seeing Tezzeret Cruel Captain in here. Like that, he's busted bananas with an artifact shell like this. I love it.
Particularly Tezzeret with Displacer Kitten. Because Tezzeret searches for an artifact with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand. Tezzeret and Displacer Kitten is grab every 0 mana artifact out of your deck. Because you grab a 0-drop, you play it, you blink Tezzeret. You grab a 0-drop, you play it, you blink Tezzeret. You grab a 0-drop, so on and so forth. And then you can, as you're playing your 0-drops that probably tap for mana, if you've got like Urza down, now it's like, I'm going to grab every 1 mana artifact out of my deck with the Displacer Kitten down. So you can just fill up. And like I said, that's what I mean, dude. It's not hard to get 20 artifacts in play in a deck like this. So Krang all of a sudden becomes like one-shot people in a competitive list, which is crazy.
Well, that sounds like to me we need a casual commander then.
Certainly.
Oh, brother. Since these cards were revealed for my last deck for this evening, I have been so excited for especially you to just see this absolute trade. Like, did we not? Literally a couple days.
I've not opened this deck list yet, so I'm excited about this.
Literally a couple days ago, before we started this recording, I got quoted as, John, this is the most unhinged piece of crap you've ever made. And I'm so excited to tell you about this next deck of mine called Party Crashers. So I love it was one of my favorite aspects of March of the Machine is the team up legendary creature cards. They were so cool and interesting concepts of like being able to bring multiple creatures together on the same card and see what kind of abilities the two of them could share. And Ninja Turtles brings us this type of shell as well.
Hey.
That was an unintentional joke, but there are a ton of 2-color team-up type of cards, and specifically for the turtles themselves, there are 2-color team-ups of each of the 2 turtle brothers on one card, kind of depicting how their 2 types of personalities mesh together. So the deck I have chosen here uses the team-up one, Raph and Mikey, Troublemakers.
Mm-hmm.
They are...
This one's been getting some buzz.
This one is 5 and 2 hybrids of Gruul mana, so a total of 7 to play. Legendary creature, mutant ninja turtle, 7/7 with trample and haste. Just outside of anything else, by the way, before we go into the rest of this. 7 mana, 7/7, they come down and go swinging immediately. And that is important for what we're doing with the rest of the deck here. Whenever Raph and Mikey attack, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped and attacking, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. It reads, I guess it's kind of like a Tali in a sense.
Yeah,
where
it's
like,
a Tali-ish.
As soon as it goes in, it goes flipping. But what is most important about this wording here is that you don't just go until you don't just flip a card and hope that it's a creature on top. They specifically go and reveal until you find a creature, and that one goes in tapped and attacking. My brain started churning when I see stuff like that, be like, okay, let's start with and obviously this is a direction to take the pair here. It's like, oh, you ramp up to them, go 7, they go swinging, you find something gigantic and stupid off the top, like a Blightsteel Colossus or an Eldrazi or, big dragons or whatever you want to do. And that is a completely fair, legitimate, and fun way to build the deck. I did not do that. I found for myself, okay, so we are digging down to we find specifically a creature. What can we do here? I constructed a combo shell. So all right. So the deck, the 99, we have one creature in the deck. So that when Raph and Mikey go swinging, they guarantee go and flip into that creature. And that creature is Aurora Awakener. Aurora Awakener, we talked about this from Lorwyn Eclipse. This is one of my standouts from the TAM deck. 6 and a green for a 7/7 giant druid, also with trample, which as a reminder, he'll be coming in tapped and attacking when it's flipped off of Raph and Mikey. And it has Vivid. When it enters, you reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X permanent cards, where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. In this case, with the deck, it's going to be 2, because Raph and Mikey is a Gruul-colored card. Put any number of those permanents onto the battlefield, then put the rest in the bottom in a random order.
I see what's happening.
So Raph and Mikey come in off of 7. They flip into Aurora Awakener, guaranteed. Aurora Awakener then says, hey, let's go flipping cards until we find permanents and put those into play. The other permanents that we have in the deck is Aggravated Assault and Nature's Will. These two enchantments, they say that Aggravated Assault has the activated ability for 3 and double red, untap all creatures you control, and if it's the main phase, there's an additional combat phase combat phase followed by an additional main phase, activatable only as a sorcery. And Nature's Will is an enchantment that for 2 and double green, it says that whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, tap all lands that player controls and untap all lands you control. So what the goal So what the goal here is that your 2 creatures here, Raph and Mikey and Aurora Awakener, they connect on somebody. You tap down all their lands, yours all become untapped. You go to your second main, pay for an additional combat, go swinging again. Do the exact same thing on repeat.
Flip your entire deck. Find nothing, shuffle.
So the problem here then became, okay, we want to make sure Aurora Awakener hits Aggravated Assault and Nature's Will on repeat every single time. The issue became lands, because Aurora Awakener can find lands. He says that he flips into permanents. We have 7 basics in the deck.
7 lands.
7 lands. 5.
So the goal is, if you're able to cast Raph and Mikey, it means that you have all lands out of your deck. John, this is so stupid.
The remainder of our deck is instants and sorceries that can find all 7 of our basic lands to get them out as fast as possible.
Yep.
So we have everything stretching from like 1 to 4 on mana cost with things like Lay of the Land and Analyze the Pollen, Aang's Journey, Bushwhack, Collective Voyage, Cultivate, Edge of Autumn, everything. Every instant or sorcery that I could find that as soon as you get going, they either find your basic lands that go to hand or immediately put them down into play. And so what the goal here would be is that your opening hand, you start with at least a land, preferably a forest, because like 90% of our list is green. We have some red cards in here too, but we just need the red so that we have the double red cost to be able to pay into aggravated assault. So you will use these green spells, like again, these like 1-mana ones that fetch a land directly to your hand, or then once we start actually getting lands down in play, you start using your 2-drops like Rampant Growth and Into the North. You start playing your 3-drops then, like Cultivate and Kodama's Reach, all the way up to 4-drop. You're doing things like Circuitous Root and Tempt with Discovery, things like that, to get them all down. And then the turn that you have access to use all 7 of your basics, you cast Raph and Mikey. There are no other permanents in your deck other than Aurora Awakener, Aggravated Assault, and Nature's Will.
I'm going to take this opportunity, as I do most times whenever you bring up this card, because you bring it up quite a lot. Can you say the word circuitous?
Circuitous?
Circuitous.
Am I still doing it wrong?
It's a circuit. It's of a circuit.
Yeah,
so it's
circuitous.
Circuitous. No, circuitous. You're saying circuitous.
I wanted to bring up some of my favorites here as far as the spells that are be able to fetch us some lands. I think one of the coolest that's in here is Land Grant.
What a beauty.
1 and a green for a sorcery. If you have no land cards in your hand, you may reveal your hand instead of paying its mana cost, and it searches your library for a forest card, puts it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. So you could take less mulligans. If Land Grant is one of the first in your opening hand, if you don't have any other basics in your hand, you can still get going with Land Grant without even paying anything. You just reveal your hand. Oh, my Land Grant goes and gets me my first forest I need. And then that forest can then be used to follow up with your other spells like Lay of the Land and things or whatever to start grabbing all the rest of them to your hand.
Yeah, you're right. The Nature's Will untaps all of your lands, then you get a main phase, and you just get to continue doing that. So as soon as you get to 7 mana and play Mike, you're such a Junderdome guy. This is wild.
That is so funny.
I was looking for the Charbelcher in this list. I was looking for it.
I really tried. I tried to make Charbelcher work in here, and I just could not find the slot for it.
Yeah,
so
there's 1 in 3 chance that you hit like Aggravated Assault and Charbelcher, and that doesn't work. Nature's Will and Charbelcher would be fire. That'd be perfect. You'd still be fine there because then you just fire it off. But the problem with Charbelcher is that it only gets 1 opponent at a time, and you'd have to make like turn rotations to keep going from there. But so that's why I went with the Aggravated Assault line as well, because if you're at infinite combat, you get everybody all at once. Which as well, by the way, the Nature's Will taps down any lands that the defending player that you connect with. So there's a less likelihood that as you're continuing to go around, they've got spot removal, or if they have spot removal, they gotta use it right there, or their lands are gonna remain tapped for the remainder of your infinite combats. Yes. Dude, I hate how your brain works. This is so stupid, and I love it so much.
I just want a disclaimer. Please don't build a deck like this. Like, this is more
You'll do the thing once, and you'll never play it again. Build it on Arena, because all of these cards are on Arena.
Most of them are.
The Nature's Will is, and the Aggravated Assault is, and so is Mikey and Raph, and so is the Aurora Awakener. You fill in some different, like, rampy bits in there, but it's still possible.
It is entirely possible, yeah. So this could definitely suit the only issue then when you go to play this in Brawl is that your only other single opponent is gonna maybe be more likely to get more creatures down ahead of you, because that's one of the other issues with this deck would face is that, you could take your infinite combats, but if you have no creatures to get in, every single one of those combats, damage is still stacked on each of your 2 creatures you have here. So if infinite combats of 2 7/7s with trample can't push through, you're not gonna be winning. So This is why I said this was definitely more theory craft than it was like actually good.
Yeah.
But like, man, if it fires,
Kinda
beautiful. Beautiful construction.
God,
I was so happy to discover that there were these like lines here of permanent based. I mean, again, you know how my Animar brain is. Like, permanent based combo shells is just something I thrive with. And I was just, if you'd like to see every bit of the land ramp spell that's in there, don't forget the deck list is available in the description box down below. Give this a playtest on Moxfield. You'll be surprised how consistent it is to get to 7 lands.
I'll wrap us up today with my final deck to present to you here. And this was a partner pair from the Turtle Power precon?
Turtle Power, yep, you're right.
That I thought was so neat that this was included in the deck. This is Bebop, Skull and Crossbones, and Rocksteady Mutant Marauder. This is a Golgari deck that they both have partner with each other, so that you can play both of these cards in the command zone. Bebop is the more interesting of the two of them. Bebop, Skull and Crossbones is 1 and a black for a 2/1 with Death Touch, partners with Rocksteady, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you may draw X cards, where X is the number of counters on him. If you do, you lose X life. So he asks you to stack counters super high on him to then hit and refill your hand and like ad nauseam equal to the number of counters on him. Speed Demon from the Aether Drift set was a very similar thing where like you draw and lose life equal to the number of counters on it. So it's this cool design space they've been in. Never has been at 2 mana before. Rocksteady is the less interesting half of this. It's 2 and a green for a 3/3 with Trample, and whenever another non-token creature you control enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So the two of those combined are asking you to just play non-token creatures, stack a bunch of counters on Bebop, use Death Touch as evasion, and just smack people, draw a bunch of cards, refill your hand with that. What I think is particularly interesting about Bebop is he does not say draw cards equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on him. So any amount of counters that go on Bebop, you draw cards for as he hits. So this was my project here, was how many different types of counters can we throw on Bebop? Because the other really cool interaction in this deck is typically if you're just playing +1/+1 counters, Proliferate is fine, because Proliferate is you take each kind of counter on a creature and you put another one of those counters on. So if he's got 10 +1/+1 counters on him and you proliferate up to 11 counters. You've added 1 counter, it's not particularly strong. If he has a lifelink counter, a reach counter, a death touch counter, a trample counter, a +1/+1 counter, a shield counter, he's got all 6 of those and you proliferate, all of a sudden he now has 12 counters on him. So we're using Proliferate to effectively try to double the number of counters on Bebop and get him huge as quickly as possible by sort of playing this mini game of how many different kinds of counters can we throw on one creature. So that's the big thing. Rocksteady is going to be, he is Rocksteady. Every time we play a non-token creature, he is going to get a +1/+1 counter. So he helps up that count, but it really is trying to get interesting counters on him and then proliferating off of there. So the first and most important counter to get on him is a lifelink counter, because as he deals damage, you draw cards and lose that much life. But if you've got a lifelink counter on him, you gain that much life back. So you're at net 0 to draw equal to the number of counters on him, and your opponent has taken damage from it. So lifelink counters is the most important one. My personal favorite way to get a lifelink counter on him is Unexpected Fangs. This is a 2 mana instant from Ikoria that just says put a +1/+1 counter and a lifelink counter on target creature. That is everything we're trying to do all in one right here. So that one's awesome. There's another one. It's from Modern Horizons 3. It's Gift of the Viper. This is not a lifelink counter, but while we're talking about instants that put a bunch of counters, Gift of the Viper is put a +1/+1 counter, a reach counter, and a death touch counter on target creature. Untap it for a single instant. This is Ancestral Recall in this deck because it just throws 3 counters on a creature and untaps it. So you could swing with it, boom, untap it. Obviously, the death touch becomes irrelevant, but trample counter is really important there. Reach counter is really important there because it untaps it. This is such a ridiculous one. We're a Golgari deck, so we're obviously playing from the graveyard, regardless of what we're doing. And Scavenged Brawler is just chef's kiss here. Scavenged Brawler is a 6 mana 4/4 with flying, vigilance, trample, and lifelink that you can pay 5 and exile it from the graveyard. You choose target creature. You put 4 +1/+1 counters, a flying counter, a vigilance counter, a trample counter, and a lifelink counter on that creature. It puts all of those counters. That is 8 counters that it puts on.
Ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. And again, once we start proliferating from there, all of those, you put an extra +1/+1 counter, an extra flying counter, an extra vigilance counter, an excellence trample, and Bebop is going to track every single one of those, even though the ability counters become redundant. So this is super easy. Well, one of your personal favorites in the deck, John, Slippery Bog Bonder. I know you love that card so much.
Love this little friend.
4 mana 3/3 flash hexproof. When it enters, you put a hexproof counter on something. So what I love about this deck is it kind of plays like a Voltron deck where you'd want to be putting equipment or auras, but you're just stacking counters on it. Yeah. There's a real world where his power and toughness really does not change much, and you just stack a billion ability counters on him. It's absolutely awesome. A couple ways to actually win the game with this deck. Look, I get it. It's a $70 card, but Sheoldred the Apocalypse is ridiculous in this deck. When you draw a card, you gain 2 life. When an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. So not only does the life loss from Bebop offset, but you actually net positive 1 life for every card that you've drawn with him. In a similar vein, we have Starving Revenant. This is a sneaky one that I've not seen played very often, but it's 4 mana for a 4/4. Enters the battlefield, surveil 2. Then for each card you put on top of your library, you can draw it and lose 3 life. So it sort of does a weird like Sylvan Library when it enters. And then it has Descend 8. So if you have 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard, whenever you draw a card, target opponent loses a life and you gain 1 life. Similarly, Psychosis Crawler is in the deck as well. What's that?
Sheoldred, but small.
Yeah, it's Sheoldred, but small. So again, the goal is lifelink counters, Sheoldred, Starving Revenant, things like that are going to offset the life loss so that you can just go and put 30 counters on Bebop, and then when you deal damage, you can draw those 30 cards and then not lose 30 life to that and instead turn that into somebody else's losing 30 life. Really, really awesome. There's a new card from Lorwyn Eclipsed Commander in here that I love, which is Fair 4 Young Yu. This is 6 and a green for a 4/7. When it enters, you create a number of 1/1 green Saproling creature tokens equal to the number of counters among creatures target player controls. So this is going to make roughly 1 billion Saprolings as it enters. And then, oh man, this gorgeous tap ability. Tap, double the number of each kind of counter on target creature. So it's going to track however many +1/+1 counters you have, double that, but then every single type of of counter on him and double it. There's a handful of other ways. Oh man, another one I talked about with Lorwyn Eclipse, Luxior Giada's Gift. This is such an underrated card to begin with. But Luxior is a 1 mana equipment. It equips for 3, and then equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on it. So it turns those ability counters into +1/+1 from it. It's just so sick. With our mana ramp, you could throw a bounty counter on him with Bounty Board. T45 Power Armor is another great one. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. Equipped creature gets it's a 2 mana equipment, equips for 3. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay an energy. If you do, untap it and then put your choice of a menace, trample, or lifelink counter on it. So just super easy. I mentioned that trample counters are really easy. So what you would do with the power armor is take 2 turns, untap him twice, give him trample, give him lifelink. Those are the 2 important ones there. Trample and Death Touch works, as we know. All you need to do is assign lethal damage. With Death Touch, it's 1. So then every bit of damage above 1 goes through to the defending player. if you can throw first strike on him, there's not a ton of ways to throw first strike counters. I think one of the only ways in this deck is using nesting grounds to move a counter from a target permanent onto another target permanent, and the Crystalline Giant, and hoping that the Crystalline Giant hits first strike in one of those. But that's also an awesome one because Crystalline Giant will generate you a random ability counter every turn, and then you can nesting grounds and just move that over to Bebop, and then wait for it to generate you a random counter and move it over to Bebop.
Isn't that sick? That's so cool.
It's so cool. Dude, I'm telling you, this is like, I do this every time that we do a Unique Brews deck. I go, I'm just going to theory craft these decks, and then I think I might actually have to build this one. Well, I think that's us. I think that's all 6 decks. Man, this was maybe our most unique of the Unique Brews that we've ever done before.
There was some uniqueness here tonight. Let me tell you. Who, baby?
Certainly true. And that is kind of fitting for such a interesting set like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, with the mixed reception. It is a very mechanically interesting set. They really have packed some neat cards in it in the same way that they did with like Avatar. But it's just a much smaller set and it's a very specific vibe. So if that's it for you, if you like it, that's awesome. Happy to see it, and here is some brews for you. And maybe we've helped some of the naysayers to see that there is more than just art and vibe, and that the text boxes are equally as important for cards that they're putting out. But that brings us to the end of today's...
Make text boxes matter again.
Make text boxes matter. You know what? Just cover up that art. Just take a Sharpie and just Sharpie over it, and that's a sick card to begin with. That's all we've got for today. This was quite the long one. Thanks for sticking it out with us here. Hope you've enjoyed this. Let us know in the comments below which of these decks was your favorite. You can also let us know on our Discord, and you can chat with us about today's episode and everything else Thoughtcast related. You can find us on social media at MTG Thoughtcast.bsky.social on Blue Sky, or you can send us an email at mtgthoughtcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you so soon on another episode of the MTG Thoughtcast.